Welcome to the Disabled Podcast, starring your host, Christian Reitz.
Hot dog, let's go!
Welcome to the Disabled Podcast, the show that incorporates disabilities with the magic of Disney. Welcome to episode number 8, entitled Weathering the Magic. Be sure to use our hashtag the Disabled Podcast when sharing this podcast to all social media platforms. Again, that's hashtag the Disabled Podcast when sharing this podcast to all social media platforms. And now, here is your host, Christian Reitz. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Disabled Podcast. In this week's episode, we're going to talk all about thunderstorms, rain, all the different seasons at Disney World, and what Disney does to prepare for major events such as hurricanes. We're going to talk all about that and more on this week's episode of the Disabled Podcast. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so now let's just talk about your typical rainy day at Disney World, no matter what theme park you're at. Typically, if it's just a rainy day with lightning and thunderstorms in the area while you're in the theme park, they're not going to do so much as to closing the park. A lot of those experiences will actually be cut off. At least the outdoor ones will be shut down. And what's going to end up happening is they'll actually offer a lot more indoor activities. So again, all the restaurants are open, the confectionery is open. Everything that's indoors, whether that's a show or a ride that uses an indoor show building, those will all be open. And there's wait times again for fast passes, or actually lightning lanes, not even fast passes. By the way, I do miss fast passes. Let me just go ahead and say that. I know that's kind of random, but I do miss fast passes. Typically what they'll do though is they will actually move a lot of, or open up a lot of the areas from the indoors for more guests. So you want to make sure that you have the My Disney Experience app around that time, because that'll show you the wait times for all the indoor attractions. Now, with that, if an indoor attraction is open during a rainy time in the Disney parks where there's like a torrential downpour, those wait times will go up. So if, say, Test Track was 25 minutes, that might shoot up to 3 hours or something like that. Or if Frozen was an hour wait, that might up to 4 hours, or Remy might have to be up to 6 hours. Again, those things are going to be the longest wait times, again, because people don't want to be outdoors. Especially for Magic Kingdom as well, with Dumbo and all these other, like Jungle Cruise, they will go up. They will actually close down. A lot of the outdoors will close down. But again, something like Hall of Presidents at Magic Kingdom, that will go up in wait times. So again, you want to make sure you have the My Disney Experience app, like I keep mentioning every single week of the last few episodes, because that's going to help you navigate and decide what you need to do next in order to have the best experience possible. So make sure that you do download the My Disney Experience app, either on Apple or Android, across all devices. So now, let's talk all about hurricane season at the Walt Disney World Resort, not only from the park perspective, but also from the resort perspective. Now, before I begin this section, I do really want to say to all of my friends and family in Florida, and to everybody that was affected by Hurricane Milton just a couple days ago, actually by the time of this recording, it's been a few days now, about 2 or 3 days. Let me just go ahead and say that my heart goes out to you guys. I pray that you guys are doing safe, that for a lot of you, there may be damage to your houses, but my prayer is that you are safe. I'm thinking about you guys, and I say that because I also have friends and family that are in Florida as well. So I want to make sure that you guys know that we are thinking about you, we are praying for you, and we send you all the best wishes, that you guys are recovering well, and that you are getting the help that you need. If for some reason, though, you have needs, what I want to do is I want to do something special for you. In the comments below of all of our streaming platforms, I want you to comment whether or not you need help and what you need help with. Now, if there's somebody that lives in your area, you can also comment your area, what city, what part of Florida you live in. And if there's somebody near your area that can help you out, I want that person to connect with you through the comment section. Again, we just want to spread community, because that's what we're all about here on the Disabled Podcast. So when it comes to hurricanes, though, a lot of times Disney is going to do a specific protocol. Every cast member knows this. Everybody that's been to Disney during hurricane season actually knows this. Number one, what they're going to do is they may cancel some Disney vacations, or they might shut down the parks. Obviously, they're going to shut down the parks. We all know that. So, what happens when they shut down the parks, though? And why do they shut down the parks? Well, they shut down the parks because just like anything else, if it's a lot of rain, torrential downpour with a hurricane, there's going to be a lot of water on the roads, and it's probably going to flood. Now, Disney's pretty good about flooding because of the systems that they've built within the Disney property, so it doesn't flood as much. But again, they're still going to close down the parks for guest safety, but not just for guest safety. They're also going to do that for the cast members that create the magic every single day. So shout out to all you cast members. I hope you guys are doing so good and staying safe. And I hope that you guys are back to work very, very soon, which at the time of this recording, Disney has opened back up, which is very exciting. They are back to normal operations. But again, hurricanes can actually affect that in a way by closing down the parks. But what about the resorts? Now, I've heard it said that, and I don't know why people do this, don't ask me, but there's differing opinions on this. People have actually said that the resorts are the best place to be when going through a hurricane at Walt Disney World, which I know for a lot of you, it's like, they're insane. These people are nuts. They're not human. I get it. It's fine. I've actually been through a hurricane at Disney World, and I can tell you firsthand that a lot of these people are true. Now, again, these are just opinions. These are not actual facts. So, again, you want to make sure that you make the decision that is best for your family, whether that's canceling a Disney trip, or maybe you're at the resort and you're just on your Disney vacation, and a hurricane just happens to be passing through. Again, that's for your discretion. So, here's a couple things that you need to know about staying at a resort during a hurricane. One of the things that they're going to do is they're going to offer more experiences in the lobbies of all of these different resort hotels. Now, typically what that's going to look like is this. There's going to be character meet and greets at the hotels. There's going to be dance parties at the hotels. There even, and I bet some of you didn't know this, that there's actually a crew that's called the Ride Out Crew. Did you know that's true? Did you know that that's what it does? Well, here's what the Ride Out Crew does. What the Ride Out Crew does is they are cast members that have chosen, and I know this is controversy, so I want to explain the controversy of this, but let me tell you what this is first. The Ride Out Crew specifically are cast members who have chosen to stay behind to keep the guests' safety. Now, a lot of people say, well, what about their families, and what about them? Shouldn't they go home? Disney, what are you doing? Let them go home. I've seen a lot of that in social media. Let me go and clarify something, because I've had friends that have done this. You sign up for it. Everybody signs up for it. So there's not all the cast members do it, but a few cast members actually do stay behind, and they do visit these resorts every single time that there's a hurricane. So again, shout out to the cast members, because these guys are the ones making the magic, even though there's a hurricane happening. I mean, they might do character meet and greets, dance parties, and again, the food as well. Some of the food courts will actually close down, but don't worry, they'll offer something like, I think in this last hurricane, I read somewhere that they were offering something like peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, which doesn't sound like much, but when you're hungry and you need something, that's what you want. I mean, you just want something to get in your stomach to make you feel better, and they'll offer all kinds of options for that. Some of them do actually stay open for the hurricane, but again, majority of them do not. So this is just a few things that Disney does during a hurricane. So now let's talk about what Disney does to notify people that a hurricane is approaching and what their protocol is going to be for said hurricane. Now, they're going to use a couple different areas and avenues of communication. One of them is going to be through the My Disney Experience app, where that will send you a push notification if you have it turned on, and that will tell you what are the offerings for that day or what their decision is by the Walt Disney Company in Florida, whether or not they're going to shut down the parks or offer limited experiences within each theme park. Again, they are so good at monitoring the weather. They have actually people that are on their staff that are actually trained to it's like their own like Disney meteorologist. and they're trained to notify Disney about these changes that are happening as they're happening or even before they're happening. Now, typically, what's going to happen is they'll notify about 24 hours to maybe a couple days before the actual hurricane to say, hey, we're closing down the parks, just to be sure. Because what's also going to happen is that the Orlando International Airport and areas around Florida, they're going to close down their airports, so no flights are going to be coming in. So you want to make sure that you have the My Disney Experience app on your phone to get those notifications. Now, another way they're going to do that as well is through maybe TV announcements on your in-room television, or they might do loudspeakers, or they might do paper notifications. Again, Disney is really good about notifying their guests and also their cast members about these changes as they come about. So again, make sure you have the My Disney Experience app. Make sure you're always checking that, especially if you're there during a hurricane season. Okay, so now, let's talk about the cleanup crew. Now, once the hurricane is passed by, what's going to happen is that there's going to be a specific crew that Disney has of cast members that are called their cleanup crew. And what these people do is they actually do clean up. They go and they assess the damage, that maybe some flooding might have happened, maybe some plants got knocked over, and all these different things. Some buildings might need to be operated on, or I say operated, but they might need to be fixed up. Again, they're going to assess that damage before they actually open up the parks. When they are ready to open up the parks, what's going to happen is that you will get a push notification on the My Disney Experience app or any other option that's, whether it's the TV or a text option. So again, whatever avenue you decided to get your notifications from, Disney will notify you based off that. Now, typically, that is actually through the My Disney Experience app, because that app is useful not only for wait times, but also for notifications just like hurricanes and other major events of cancellations and all that. So Disney will notify you specifically when the parks are open. So usually when you open up the app, you'll see it right there. It'll say, hey, Disney's going to be open. The cleanup crew is ready for you, ready to bring the magic again. And Disney World will operate in these hours, or sometimes they might even say, Disney World is now going to be open on this day at our normal operating hours. So again, make sure you have your notifications on for your My Disney Experience app or your text notifications, whatever avenue you have decided to have these announcements come to you. That's what you want to make sure you're paying attention to, because that will tell you when the parks are officially open and you can experience all the magic. Well, guys, that is it for this week's episode of the Disable podcast, all about weathering the magic. Hey, listen, again, for all of you people that have been affected by Hurricane Milton, we are thinking about you, praying for you. We hope that you guys can get back to normal life really quickly. Some of you I know have already gotten back to normal. See, for the most part, very quickly. You've had the least amount of damage. But again, I just want to tell you that we are thinking about you and praying for you during this season. We just love you guys so much. If you're someone that's been affected by it, please comment down below on all streaming platforms. And you never know, somebody might be able to help you out. You never know. Again, we're spreading community. Well, thank you guys for joining me for this week's episode. I hope you were informed on what Disney does to prepare for major hurricanes and major thunderstorms and major weather events. Again, if you like us, you can go like us on Facebook at the Disable Podcast. Make sure to go subscribe to us either on Apple Podcast, Spotify, or YouTube, so you can get notifications as to when the next episode will be uploaded. In the next episode, we're actually going to be talking about Disney's After Hours. What are those all about? You say, Disney After Hours? What does that mean? Well, you'll find out on the very next episode of the Disable Podcast. Have a wonderful day, everybody, and we'll see ya
Real soon.
Thank you for joining us for this week's episode of the Disable Podcast. Be sure to use our hashtag the Disable Podcast, when sharing this podcast to all of your social media platforms. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see ya real soon.